All right. In my last video, I went from this image to separating out my color channels with an extra special separation for my line layer. So now I have 5 separate files, and each one has its own channel on it. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to actually bitmap each one of these channels. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do that. So I'll start out with the yellow channel. I'm going to go in here to image mode bitmap right there. And bitmap is a really powerful tool. It's got a lot of different options. We're going to be using the halftone screen option. You can do some interesting stuff with these other things. I encourage you to play around with it. But for this project, we're going to be sticking with the old halftone screen. If your file was not 600 dpi before, this is the point where you can change that output. So you want to make sure your output here, it says 600 dpi. That's what we're rolling with. And we are using a halftone screen. So go ahead and say OK. Brings us up with some more options. So the frequency here tells you how many dots, like rows of dots per inch. So if the number is higher, you're going to have more rows of dots per inch, and you're going to have a finer, more detailed image. If this number is lower, you're going to have the dots will be more visible. You'll have more of like a pop art look. It'll be a little bit more textured. All right. We've done some tests, and we found that 35 dots per inch, lines per inch, is kind of best case scenario for giving us as much information as we can. Now, I could go lower. I think maybe the sweet range here would be 35 for a more photographic image, down to, say, 20 for a more textured, more visible dot. You could go bigger than that if you wanted to, but it'd start to be a look. It would definitely be a look. We have a couple options here. I'm going to be going with the round option. Yeah. All right, let's see what that does. Oh, I did this wrong. Okay, let's go back. What happened there? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to bitmap this again. So mode, bitmap. I forgot to set the angle. So this is actually really important as well. This is my yellow layer, and the angle is something that determines how these layers of dots will interact with each other. So I have an image here that kind of breaks it down for us a little bit. So for, come on now. For a yellow layer, the traditional dot angle is 90 degrees. For black, the traditional dot angle is 45 degrees. Now, you could mix this up. I think there are reasons for this, and I think it has to do with like the opacity of these colors and what makes for something that is like the most subtle. So for the sake of just kind of sticking with tradition, unless I have like a reason to change these angles, I'm not going to. But what really matters is the amount of degree between the angles. So if you like make it the, black 46, then your yellow would then be a 1. You still want to like keep the angles all rotated together. So since this is my yellow layer, I actually want to do a 90-degree dot. And you can see how that looks different. Now my dots are straight up and down. This is really critical because it prevents there from being any sort of weird moire interference pattern, and allows this sort of finished image to kind of have like sort of little florets of dots. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this to all of my layers, right? So I've got to go into my magenta. I'm going to go to image mode bitmap, 600 dpi, halftone screen. Yep, same thing, except now I'm going to check this again. So this is now my magenta layer, so that's going to be the 75. Great. Then I'm going to take it to the cyan layer, image mode bitmap. Great. And then, of course, my angle for cyan is 15. Great. Then I want to do the black. So the black is a little bit interesting here. So because I have a black layer of tone, but I also have my black line layer. What's interesting here is I think what I would like to do is I'm going to go ahead and halftone my black, and then I'm going to copy that halftone onto the line layer. So I'll have a mixture of both like halftone shading and solid crisp line. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one too. So that's again image mode, bitmap 600, and then this one is 45. All right, now I'm ready to move on to the next step.